Welcome to Buckets live for our postgame show. We're going to do these postgame shows after every conference finals and finals game. Our objective on these to give you something different rather than the narratives and the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was big time tonight. We're actually going to give you actionable stuff. We'll talk about where the market is heading. We'll talk about how we did on our bets. We'll talk about the game too, because this is sports betting and sports is part of that sports betting. We'll talk about that. And we'll look ahead to game 2 of this series to give you our initial thoughts. Best bets is a little bit much. You're going to get those on the regular episode, which is going to be on Wednesday afternoon. You'll have a full best bets episode that breaks down game 2 best bets for the Western Conference Finals. But tonight we'll start with Michael Fiddle at Fiddle's Picks. He is the host of the
Advantage Sports Betting Podcast.
Advantage Sports Betting Podcast. I got it wrong while ago and was annoyed with myself. He also does a live Twitter show every single day on Twitter at Fiddle's Picks that breaks down the market. He also gives market reads on WNBA as well, so you should be checking that out. Brandon Anderson, NBA futures analyst, is with us at Wheaton Brando. Devoted Wolves fan, not really, but a Wolves fan, and not thrilled after the Minnesota Timberwolves fall 114-88. It was a close game until late. This was much more of a regular season type game where the Thunder are down at halftime and they make a big run and it's back and forth, and then there goes the Thunder, and then they're gone. That's how this one worked out. Thunder minus 7.5 cashes. Fiddle wins his head-to-head against me. Big story for me, Brandon. Big story for me on this one actually is very much of I do not hate the script of this game for Minnesota. They did the things that you can't do, but the way the game played out, it's like a very big if. It's like, Minnesota was in a pretty good spot if they didn't turn the ball over 17 times for 1 million points off of turnovers. Unfortunately, the one thing we talked about coming into the series, you can't turn the ball over versus OKC. And ultimately, I will say this, I'm not even kidding. You're going to hear me talk about my position on the series coming up. It's over. The Thunder have won the Western Conference Finals. That's it. They've won. You're not beating this team 4 times out of 6. You're not doing it. You're not beating OKC 4 times out of 6. You can beat them 3 times out of 6. You can beat them 2 times out of 6. You cannot beat them 4 out of the next 6. The Western Conference Finals are over. The Oklahoma City Thunder have won the Western Conference Finals. I will get the numbers on that. And that's not me overreacting to this game, because I actually think that the Wolves are going to be in a really good position. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Interesting game from a lot of perspectives of how this was coached, the lineups. Rudy Gobert picks up 2 fouls, winds up playing only 21 minutes in this one. So it looks like Finch really does not think that this is going to be a Gobert series. That is a concerning thing that we'll get to. Julius Randle with 28 points. He was phenomenal. Anthony Edwards, just 18 points on 5 of 13, though he did have 9 rebounds. Brandon Anderson looking good for a series leader for Ant for rebounds. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, the big show tonight, 31 points, 9 dimes, which will not get talked about enough because he got to the line for 14 free throws. And there'll be a lot of conversations about the whistle, but we're not going to do that here. I've talked for a long while. Brandon Anderson, give me your thoughts on game 1.
Yeah, I don't feel like I like the process a lot for Minnesota. I think particularly, let's go both sides of the ball. So they start out 8-0. They make the jumpers right away. And from there, the entire rest of the first quarter, I thought was really disappointing. All the things that you don't want to do, like you said, you can't foul. Shea's got 7 free throws right away. You can't be loose on the handle. They're getting live ball turnovers right away. I think too, not a stat that you can point to, but just really slow decision making. I disagree that Julius Randle had a great game. I know that you're going to laugh at that because Julius scored the points and I'm about the Julius thing. Julius had 5 turnovers and a lot of slow decisions. And I think that really hurts the team. I feel like second quarter, Minnesota rebounded and had an awesome defensive quarter. Second quarter is exactly what Minnesota needs to do. They had hands up frequently, defending well, Shea was like 2 of 11 at the half. Second quarter defense is what they need to do. Then they came after halftime and immediately lapsed into all the mistakes right at the start of the third quarter, and then never recovered that time. And that's the defensive side. So we've seen the good. We saw a lot of the bad. I think 3 quarters mostly bad, 1 quarter good. I'm very concerned with the offensive side of the ball. Minnesota fans on my timeline seem to be very much like, well, we're getting good open threes. We're going to have to make them. That's it. We're going to make the threes. You can't take 2/3 of your shot from threes against Oklahoma City. Matt, you were on this when Oklahoma City played Boston. Remember when Boston was relevant still? Remember Boston shot like 63s against OKC, and you're like, no, you don't want that. It looked great when Julius is hitting 5 in the first half. It looks great when you're starting out 8 of 19 on threes. It's not so great when you finish with 7 of 32 after that, 22%, because a missed 3 is usually a long rebound, and a long rebound is kind of sort of like a turnover going back the other direction. The whole thing Oklahoma City is built to do to you. And I feel like in the second half, when the threes went cold, which they're going to do, you shoot 53s, you're going to go cold at some point. I thought that the offense didn't get a lot of other options, a lot of other looks there. And then suddenly Minnesota can't set up the defense. You're running back the other direction. The perimeter defense that had been pretty good suddenly cracked. And now there's no Rudy out there, or Rudy's not doing enough. And now OKC's living in the paint in the second half. I feel like there are a lot of pretty troubling things from Minnesota in this game. I don't think that I can go as far to say as the series is over. I think you have it at like 80%. 80% is not over. 80% is like what they were before tonight. Like that the needle barely moved. That when you're this big of a favorite and you win, you're just still this big of a favorite again. Like, I don't really think the odds changes a lot. When on game 2, then I think we're getting there. But there's a lot that Minnesota has to clean up. And it's disappointing. Like we said in our cap going into the series, game 1 is the big opportunity for Minnesota. And I know Oklahoma City wasn't as tired as a typical game 7 team. They had not a tough first round series. They rested before that. They have to push so hard in game 7. Great. You still had 1 day to prep for this brand new team. You had 1 day to prep for this very different, much more difficult defensive team. And I thought that Minnesota looked not prepared, and Oklahoma City did just fine in the game. And that doesn't mean it's over, but I think they gave away a really good opportunity here that they're not going to have again now.
Okay. I mean, I think you are definitely in your Minnesota fatalist. This is also like,
yeah, I knew you would say that, but I think this is also my analysis of what I saw as just a neutral watcher.
I get it. It's just like, well, but part of this is like, you hate Nas and you hate Julius. And Nas had an awful game, and Julius had like a fake stats game. One of the reasons I would say it's over, Western Conference or in the conference finals, when a team at home goes up 1-0, 2-0 is 59-6. That's 91%. So pretty freaking good if you go up there. In the conference finals, when you go up 1-0, it's 107-29, 79%. So you're right, it's not over. 20% chance. Sounds about right. I don't think they're getting out because neither you or I thought they were getting out of the series anyway.
Sure.
We weren't like usually when you and I think that a team is live to extend the series, that we think they're going to win some games, we're like, they could do this. And you and I are like, no, they can win 2 games and only 2. And that's, I think, where we are. Somebody
one Julius thing. Here's my point on Julius. 28 points on 9 of 13 is clearly great. Like, you clearly want 28 points on 9 of 13 shooting. If I'm Oklahoma City and I say Randle can be the leading scorer, but also have 1 assist and 5 turnovers, I think that's an outcome OKC is going to take every single time. If Randle is doing that much, but it's just scoring, not assisting, and it's turning it over 5 times, I think they're going to live with that.
Yeah, I thought Julius played well. I have some thoughts on the 3-point stuff, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Fiddle, I know that your betting angles are built on the market, but I was just curious if you had takeaways, how you feel about the Wolves after game 1.
I mean, it's tough to feel good about a team watching them lose by almost 20 points and being blown out in the second half, but it really was a game that was decided by 2 runs for OKC, and that was made the difference. I mean, that's what OKC does. That's what great teams do. They hang, and then that's the avalanche for them eventually. I agree with Brandon. Like, it was tough watching Julius hit those threes. He's literally walking back, smiling, like he's surprised that he made them. Like, he's thinking, I almost saw the relief in his face, like, they're not going to crap on me tomorrow in the media for another post game. It's like it felt lucky. I didn't think it was sustainable. And obviously they went cold late. The market for game 2, there's very interesting things happening. Obviously there's a large OKC sentiment hitting the early market. Numbers that opened at 7 quickly moved to 7.5 or 8. 7s are being juiced out. Some offshores are going to 8. That makes a lot of sense after seeing this game, but I would just, pause rushing into that number and backing it. And what Brandon said, like, hey, when a team wins game 1 in the series, it's not like you don't see the biggest jump, right? So if OKC was minus 375 before game 1, and then they win game 1, they maintain home court, they were already a 7-point favorite. So they win game 1. You would expect that price to go from between to minus 450 to minus 500. The market has said, oh no, it was originally priced wrong. It is minus 750. The price just doubled on OKC between those games. So I think that is the biggest red flag. If you're a Minnesota person, which I think game 2s, you have to realize it's easier for the road team. There is no travel. You're leaving your stuff in the locker room. You have the chance to adjust. And so you likely see the road team in game 2 be the bounce back spot. We saw the Wolves in that spot previously already. So I against the Warriors, they came back and they took game 2. So they've been down before. I wouldn't be jumping at OKC right now, but it's hard to back the Wolves after watching that kind of game because it got ugly. It got late early for
yeah. I mean, I think they let go of the rope late when things didn't turn their way. On the 3-point thing, this is going to be a conversation topic of you can't shoot that many threes. OKC is not going to let you shoot 2s until you space them out. They're going to pack the paint with 4 guys, and they're going to pack, honestly, all the way up. And what I mean by that is you can't even get to the mid-range. They'll have 2 guys on you in mid-range. When you drive, they will take the ball away, or they will swat you, or you will miss. If you space them out and you get them in rotation, that is the best way to open up the opportunity for you to start getting inside action. You can't be like, we're going to force it. And the proof of this, honestly, is Nikola Jokic. If Jokic can't force enough scoring on the interior to dominate them without their guys hitting threes, no one's going to be able to. You got to take the threes. You got to knock them down. That's it. And you got to not turn the ball over to this degree. Like, I do want to make it very clear on this. I get it, Fiddle, from the, they got blitzed in this game. Look at the final outcome. I get it. Their points off of turnovers, they were minus 21 in points off turnovers. Now,
and they lost the free throw discrepancy against OKC. It's hard to win like that.
That was killer.
Yep.
Like, if you're going to have more fouls than OKC, you're screwed.
You had to beat them in the threes department by 20. Then you had the only chance you had, which to bring it home to this, to the amount of 3-point volume that we think is going to have to sustain in this series. I like the over, and I think it's actionable for game 2, 213.5, a few places on the market. You're seeing all the sharp books start to release the lines now, 214 coming out. Bookmaker is a book that I track for the sharp lines, 214.5 minus 114 to the over. So there's a lot of 213.5s on the market. Those are going to increase. We saw game 1 take heavy steam towards the over, all the way from the open at 212.5 to a closing line at 219. Like, this is a vast correction down after that, especially a second half that went over. So, I mean, first half was a slog and it was slow. And we were seeing Lou Dort bring up the ball so that they can set up 4 dribble handoffs to get to the right matchup. We saw the pace pick up in the second half. And I think that over 213 is 213.5 definitely actionable. I would still take an over 214 as well.
Fiddle, are you expecting the same thing from game one where you were surprised by the Wolves money? Do you think that OKC not only takes money early, but do you think, because like sharps move early and sharps move late, do you think that we're going to see late move on OKC as well?
I was very surprised by the late action that was not there on OKC. Like there was a hair of resistance. The -7s at cheap vig were pushed back to -7, -110. But if you consider just like where the sharp books, the rep books, where they opened, where they moved, it was definitely a game one. Wolves were the sharp side. And then you layer on that generally game two is better for the road team in these situations, and the losing team gets the adjustment, gets the zigzag desperation angle. Like those prices are real. I do anticipate, like I'm not surprised at this OKC emotional reaction and that first sweep of moving comes OKC. We're going to hear Anthony Edwards' ankle is okay. We're going to hear that they're going to do some adjustments. And I do think, I think this could potentially get back down to 7 or maybe even 6.5. If it got to 6.5 for game 2, I would be very, very, very worried about the OKC side.
So I'm going to be on the Wolves in game 2. I usually don't double down when I miss like this. I'm like, okay, I'll just take the game off and we'll see kind of what happens because I missed on the first read. Brandon, I told you the stat I gave was in the conference finals, teams coming off of a game 7 were 2-6 coming into this game, right? Game 1. They're 2-6 straight up, Brandon. Well, guess what? Now they're 3-6. Brandon, do you want to know? Do you want to know what happened to the two teams that won game 1?
Oh, don't I? Please tell me.
They both lost. They both lost game 2.
That is 100% hit rate to that stat right there.
That 2-0, high sample size.
All of the 8s in the market are pretty much drying up too. Like there was an 8.5 that popped up cheap at MGM. That's gone back to 7.5. Caesars had an 8. That's gone. Offshores threw up an 8. Bookmaker, like I said, opened the line at 8 down to 7.5 now. So yeah, we're seeing that secondary hit of Minnesota money say, no. Line closed at 7 flat. Don't push it out to 8 for a 1-game reaction.
What did this close? Did this close 7 or 7.5?
7 flat.
7 flat.
Yep.
It's gotta close. Is it really gonna close at the same number for game 2? Because I feel like that there's always at least a half a point price.
A general just betting rule is that if you see the same repeat matchup, which obviously we see it in the playoffs right now, but even in the regular season, you get those wrinkles where they do like the mini baseball series now and 2 games in a row against each other. Just play the next game lines that open and quickly react to what happened. Just play it back to the lines that game 1 closed at, and you will generally be right. So saying that Minnesota at 8 and the over at 213.5 when game 1 closed 7 and 219. I mean, those are definitely the only 2 directions that I would look. And I think that's market and numbers combined.
I talked myself into Julius Randle rebounds and assists over. Should have just taken the rebounds. The assists were not there. I'll have to go back and look at the film for why that happened. Jalen Williams over on assists.
Yep.
The official Action Network bet prop bet of the 2025 playoffs. The other one we were all on was the Anthony Edwards over 6.5 rebounds. That was the other one that was an absolute banger. Check in tomorrow for the Josh Hart props, which we're all going to be on. Obviously, Minnesota plus 7.5 loses. Minnesota game 1. OKC full game loses plus 550. Brandon, how'd you do tonight?
I mean, Ant rebounds. You can't really have much better start than that on Ant rebounds. We hit the over 6.5. It's already at 7.5 plus money, but the line's already up. We hit over 7.5 effectively. It was plus 196 today. So we basically lost twice the value on that. Hopefully you played well you could. Ant rebounds leader. He's got 9. He is the leader right now. Stop the count. We got the lead, but it's not just the 9. Like, I think genuinely this is as much of a dream start as you get. Rudy Gobert, 3 rebounds. Isaiah Hartenstein, 5 rebounds. Those dudes aren't even playing. Hart played 20 minutes. Chet had 7. So Chet's probably the main competition right now. Nas and Randall, 8. To me, like you said, you rarely double down. I think I have to double down on, like, they're going to open Ant at a much shorter number than the 50-1 that we bet it at. I think I'm gonna have to bet it again. Like that, this looks like an angle that you can still get in on. It's not up yet, but it's gonna still be a wrong number. So I think that's good. Betting Ant rebounds will look good. I bet the J-Dub assist, that one's been good. Brian Fonseca is watching right now. He's been on the rebounds assist combo for J-Dub. 8 rebounds tonight with the 5 assists. So I think that's definitely a strong play. That's been over 9.5. It does look like it's 10.5 now, but he had 13 tonight. So that's just, it's been a very high floor. I know Gilles been playing that one as well. Kaysen Wallace played 33 minutes tonight, and they seem increasingly comfortable with him. He only scored 3 points, but Matt, I know you were on like the over 5.5 a lot. Is that a prop you'll go to when you see the minutes there for Kaysen?
Probably points and assists because he had 7 dimes. He's taken over the Joe role in that second unit as primary initiator. So I think that's going to probably be the angle there. Also, Kaysen Wallace is better than Alex Caruso. He just is. I'm there. He's better than Alex Caruso.
Wow.
Kaysen Wallace is a stud. He's 21, a restricted free agent in 2 years. This guy's really good.
I know. He's what people think Alex Caruso is. He was plus 21 in 33 minutes tonight. He was phenomenal.
I have him as a potential half Jalen Suggs, half Tyrese Maxey. But to his rebound and a points and assist line, it's 8.5. I mean, that's very intriguing to get in early on. And Matt, I wanted to ask you, what did you play the Jalen Williams assist number at? Because I saw it pop up at 5.5, like plus 130 to the over, if that's still playable. And Gilles recommended earlier that Anthony Edwards rebounds and said, hey, if it hits tonight, it's going to be 7.5 for the rest of the series, if not higher. That's already at 7.5. So is the J-Dub 5.5? Fair?
4.5 is what I got at a minus.
Do you know what the price was?
Like minus 130, 150, but it was going up because a bunch of people played it. And then
that's about a 35-cent shift. If you factor an assist in that range, about 50 cents.
It was minus 130 is the number that I got at.
It actually opened at like 20 minutes ago. It was over 4.5 at DraftKings, but at like minus 175, and they're at over 5.5 now, plus 120. So that one's already getting bet up right now.
Yeah, 4 plus at FanDuel is already minus 370.
Do you guys know with you probably do know, but without looking right now, the Timberwolves had 18 assists tonight. Do you know who led the team in assists on Minnesota?
Can I guess McDaniels for doing so much playmaking?
No, the bunch of guys had 3. McDaniels was in fact one of the 3s. One player had 4. It was Naz Reid.
What?
You're not going to win games when Naz Reid is leading your team in assists. So where is the assist over for Minnesota? I'm curious to see the potentials, but it did not seem like Ant was getting a lot of chances.
Chris Finch, I think, really got out of he got in his head a little bit in this one. So Rudy plays 21 minutes and he does the thing that a lot of coaches do, which is can't play the bigs. I got to go small. Can't do it. We got to go small. That's what they want you to do. That's how they kill you.
To be fair, Gobert had 2 fouls in the first minute. So that like completely screws up the rotation when you're just out for the first quarter after that. So I think that was part of it.
But then he finishes with 2 fouls. And guess what? He finishes only a -2 in 21 minutes. I'll be curious to see what Finch does. Going on. Jeffy says, can't hear y'all. SGA whistle too loud.
I legitimately I had to mute myself because I started laughing at that. Jeff, that's hilarious.
Brian Fonseca says J-Dub rebounds assist at 10.5 for game 2 at even money. Yeah.
If they keep going small, he's going to keep crashing the glass for those rebound opportunities. The rebound should be higher for J-Dub because of the lack of Gobert and Hartenstein as well. So I feel like it is playable at 10.5 if you also bake in that, again, 15 to 20 Gobert and Hartenstein minutes each. It's beautiful. It's small ball at its finest, which is another reason to back the over for this game.
Shout out Jill Gallant, by the way. Shout out Jill Gallant for getting the under 1.5 3-pointers made for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander when he goes 0 of 4.
They were also rebounding. They were deflecting and getting rebounded right to Anthony Edwards. Obviously, we all talked about it, so I was just aware of it as I was watching. I was like, that's a double combo to SGA miss and Ant rebound.
Yeah.
Brandon, can I get your thoughts on this? Ryan Smith asked thoughts on Nas threes moving forward. He had crazy volume. He just sucked.
Yeah. I mean, the threes thing, I feel like, Matt, I'm curious what you think about this. We talked about this with Celtics Knicks last round, where game one, I was like, no. The Celtics took a lot of threes. They'll make them. These are open. These are pretty good looks. To me, these felt like game one Celtics threes tonight. Like early in the shot clock, one pass, shots going up, a ton of above the break threes. Early first half, I thought a lot more corner threes. And there were a whole bunch that were like in, out, like off the rim, just barely. But it seems like just too many early process threes. And then the three bench guys were ice cold, obviously. Dante hit a couple eventually. Nas, Dante, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker combined to go 5 of 26 on the threes. That's a bad percentage. That's a bad number of threes. You do not want those guys. Like, Oklahoma City wants those guys taking 26 threes. They're applauding that number. That's how you know it's not good process. Nas is bombing away, so I guess we feel good that he's not gonna shy away. He's gonna keep shooting. It to me, I would not want to get too excited because, again, this should have been the Nas game. He came in 1 minute into the game, and that should have been a chance to like start flying and get the shots up right away. And he did get the shots up, 1 of 11. But I'm interested in threes leader market. Julius at 5, so they're going to have to price him pretty heavily for the start. But Ant still went 3 of 8. Ant should be a big favorite because the volume is going to be there. But Nas 7 attempts, Dante 3 of 12. We tried Dante 3's leader earlier. Maybe this is the time. He got a lot of shots up.
Yeah.
Alexander Walker had 9 attempts. Clearly, by the math so far, 3's leader is someone on Minnesota. Maybe that's Nas. Maybe Nas has a couple of big games. So I'm hesitant to bet on Nas because it seems like it's an all or nothing sort of thing. Like if the shots fall, you get the big game, but I don't know when that's going to happen. So I feel like for me, I'm less interested in playing like the over 1.5 threes. I'm more interested in playing the outlier, like 15, 20 points or something where it hit and then it really hit. So I would say maybe play the outliers, play a higher point total or a threes escalator, play the threes series. I think that's there. And the good news is if Nas hits, if Dante hits, if Ant hits, the threes hitting makes the series go longer and gives you more shot for some of those to catch up on the series leader stuff too.
I agree with that. I think that's a good read right there as well. I will say in the comments, I would just say I get like OKC is going to win the title. I'm pretty confident of that. Like David Martell, who joins us for Every Buckets Live, says OKC minus 220 for the title still seems playable. I make it 440. So yeah, like I'll probably go back and bet OKC again to win the title tonight. But also like I am unmoved by this performance, even though I was on Wolves. And that's very rare that I was like, oh, I like this team to win this game. They didn't. Usually I'm like, all right, I got to re-examine things. And now I'm kind of like, all right, they missed the shot. Game 2. I do think there's an adjustment period to playing OKC that most teams will take. And if you're like, but Denver didn't have it. Denver also was down by like 15 for the majority of that game. And then the fourth quarter it has been, 2.5 weeks? I don't know how Denver won game 1. I don't know how they did it. I think Minnesota is going to calm down a little bit. Now, like, look, they might just turn the ball over again another, how many times, 17 times and give up 31 points off turnovers. If that's just who Minnesota is going to be in the series. And I have said this, that you can't avoid it. It's not like you're going to go from 31 to 5, right? Like they're 31 to 10. That's not happening. The Thunder are always going to have an advantage in that. Yeah. But I do think that some of the stuff, like somebody mentioned Julius's post up, like they were running post ups where I was like, this is going to get stolen. And it was, and the Thunder were able to get away with a lot of weak side. Back in my day, we would call them wolf steals, right? Where it's like guys coming from behind you. Nobody calls it out because the crowd's so loud. I think that these are type of things I do think that the Wolves can improve on, but we do get in this trap when we're doing the betting stuff of they can improve on it. Can and will are different. If Chris Finch comes into his post-game press conference tonight or tomorrow and says, hey, I can't get Rudy out of the game like that. That's my fault. I fell into that trap. That's on me. I'm gonna be moved by that. If he comes in and is like, we just feel like we get a combat, okay, man. If you want to play small ball with OKC, you're gonna get cooked. You're gonna get annihilated. You can't, because like for a good example of this, Hartenstein had 15 points in the paint. Shea had 16. That's not happening if Rudy plays more than 21 minutes. Not. So I still like Minnesota. I'm going to be on Minnesota in game 2. I'm probably going to bet them for the series, even though I think the Thunder have value, just because like this number is out of whack on the series. I actually think the market is just giving the Knicks too much of a chance versus the Thunder is most of where that number comes in. Okay, final thoughts. Fiddle, where do you expect the market to go by the time we tip off on Thursday?
I think 7.5 is going to be the spread. I think 215.5 is going to be the total. 213.5 we mentioned as actionable towards the over, already gone. 214 is there. I would still play that.
I'm making a new text file called Fiddle Predictions, and we're going to track this and see how close you get. So you think it's closing 7?
So 7, an expensive 7 or a cheap 7.5. So like minus 105 on a, we call this a 7.25.
Okay.
And 215.5.
Nice job. Brandon, you running it back with Ant rebounds next game?
I think so. I probably will do like the over 7.5 at a plus number. I try the double-double again. Don't love that as much because part of the double-double was getting the possibility on assists, and I don't feel like that looks very strong right now. So maybe you just do 8 rebounds, 10 rebounds. Definitely looking, I will look for rebound series leader pricing again to see if we're going to double down and invest a second time there. I'm noticing David Martell in the chat asked about Minnesota threes leader for the round rather than just the series. I'd be hesitant there because, again, more than anything for round, you want long series. And from my perspective, if I'm taking a pick right now, I got Thunder in 5. This made me think the Thunder series goes shorter, not longer. And if you get a game or 2 extra in the other series, that's a lot of ground to make up. So I'm not sure I would look to invest in round things from this series. I'm looking in the other series there. One thought on maybe a sneaky way to play a side in a game where you like a side. Thunder won this game. We always knew when the Thunder win, they're probably going to have a big turnover disparity. So what is it? 19 turnovers, 31 points off turnovers. You're not beating the Thunder that way.
Yeah. Julius
Randle, 5 turnovers. His line was 3.5 today. Ant, 4 turnovers, 3.5, both plus numbers. Jaden McDaniels, 1.5, had 3 turnovers. Nas, 1.5, he had 3 turnovers. I think most books are not going to allow you to same game parlay turnover props like with an Oklahoma City side. But if you liked Oklahoma City in this game and just bet a bunch of Timberwolves to be over their turnover number, that would have worked out really well for you. So if you like Minnesota, a good reason Minnesota is probably going to play well is because they're not turning it over. Conley, no turnovers tonight. That's good. Dante, only 1 turnover tonight. Nikhil, only no turnovers. The big guys are more who's turning over, and Ant just getting a lot of attention. But I think that could be a fascinating way to bet into a side. But, again, Julius and Ant are getting plus money and still going over high turnover lines. So I think that will be a way to maybe bet a side if you like them, and maybe even if they're not hitting that side, get some extra juice there.
All right, that's going to do it for Buckets Live. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Appreciate you guys joining us. Had a great crowd for our pregame show. We're back tomorrow. Pregame show before Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1, 5:30 Eastern. We'll break down best bets, props, sides. Chris Raybon's going to join us. The man, the myth, the legend will be on that show along with Joe Delera, the man, the myth, the legend that you know from the future Jays. And then Brandon's going to be on tomorrow with Gilles for Game 2 best bets for Western Conference Finals. That's tomorrow afternoon. So you got a 2:30 Eastern Buckets Live on this series, Game 2, after Brandon narrows down and gets in the lab and figures out exactly what he wants to bet, including, I guess, Thunder in 5 now. And then Buckets Live for Eastern Conference Finals pregame, 5:30 Eastern, and then postgame show will be back as well. It's been a great one. Thanks for joining us. My thanks to Michael Fiddle for his market expertise, Brandon Anderson for being the best as always, the king of ROI. Go check him out in the Action Network app. We'll see you guys again next time. Till then, let's get buckets.